A friendly conversation with Michelle. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about pride. Hello there. My name is Michelle, but you can call me May. I'm glad you're here for a conversation with me. Today's episode is a little bit different than the previous episodes. Today, I want to dive into the topic of pride or the LGBTQ plus community in the Philippines. I'm here with a guest that's willing to share his experiences that he went through, positive or negative, as an openly gay person.
Hello, my name is Nicos. Friends call me that as well. I'm an incoming freshman taking marketing. Plays a lot of games, and I am an openly gay person.
I'm very glad to have you as my guest on my podcast. I personally know a few openly gay Filipinos, but some of them aren't even still out to their parents. I understand how difficult and scary the idea of coming out in the first place is, due to the stigma of homophobia. It's so depressing that, yes, there are people who are learning to accept and embrace the idea of LGBT, but there's still a lot of discrimination that goes on.
Yes, I agree. The Philippines isn't exactly a very open country when it comes to things like LGBTQ+. They would use the word bakla, which means gay in Filipino, to mock people like me.
Yeah, I've heard people still use the word bakla as a derogatory term. It's so upsetting that they think you're lower than dirt if you are bakla or gay.
People would also justify their wrongdoings by just saying that I'm gay. And also before I would think about what life would be if I was straight instead. Would I have more friends that way? Would I enjoy games much better if I was straight? Over the years, you just get used to that, and it doesn't bother me that much anymore. But it does get me flustered when they call me names for being gay. Like I do know, I know that I shouldn't be minding what they say. I also know that it is true that I am gay. So I usually ask myself a question: why do I get so unsettled when they use that against me?
I do support your confidence and that you're learning to embrace being gay and not being ashamed of it as compared to before in the past. But sometimes we just can't tolerate the kind of behavior that mocks you. And that and I'm happy that you're trying your best to defend yourself because I feel like a lot of people cross the line to the community of the LGBT, especially when it comes to discrimination. I feel like it's because most of the people who discriminate is because they lack the education and knowledge or the information about LGBT.
Yes, exactly. I also want to tell about this incident that involved me and my other gay internet friends. Um, we would go on other public server calls using Discord, and we'd meet new people. A lot of them were friendly, yes, and didn't really mind or give a care about our sexuality. And we were
Mhm.
and were talking to us like we were call it normal people. But of course, there were also people that weren't exactly as open as them. We were just that time we were just talking in public when they joined and they continuously said, "Yo, bakla, bakla, bakla," over and over during the call. Me and my gay friends, were actually quite unsettled, yes, and became a bit
Uh-huh.
uncomfortable during that time. But we'd speak up and ask what was their problem. Then, um, then they answered us with another question, asking if our parents loved us, if specifically our dad loved us. When we replied that yes, of course. Why wouldn't they? The person who asked the question replied with because you are gay. For me, it was something that I could just look over at and not pay any attention because I know that isn't true. But for those two friends, some of them weren't open with their parents. I do know that they are strong-minded people though, but I was concerned about what would they feel after that incident. And after that incident happened, we left the server as the admins weren't also paying attention to the server's toxicity. We would just be on a call with just us only, and not meet any new people as we really didn't want to feel uncomfortable and mocked on the people by the internet. mocked by the people on the internet itself.
Have you tried to report that kind of toxic behavior to the admins of the said server?
Yes, we did. Unfortunately, they didn't pay much attention and just shrugged it off. We later found out though that one of the people who were mocking us was actually one of the admins of the server. Yeah,
Was?
yeah, one of the admins, yes. It's really frustrating that they would use our sexuality against something like that. I really do think that it's their lack of exposure towards gay people and them thinking it's quote unquote cool to be homophobic. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the subject of their anger or their disgust just because they aren't secure with their sexuality.
Just to think that they have this kind of hate for another human being is so upsetting and
Mhm.
frustrating. I can't imagine the pain and the rejection a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community has experienced in the past. Absolutely, that this experience is definitely life changing because but they a lot of people who discriminate, they shrug it off so easily and they prefer to be ignorant about the situation. Even if it wasn't LGBTQ related, it's still cyberbullying. To think that people are still willing to be ignorant about it is so saddening. This is why there's a lot of fear that comes along with coming out, as a lot of people nowadays are still not open minded, not accepting, and unkind to the community. Coming out takes a lot of courage in overcoming fear. I believe that is I believe that it is possible to lessen this discrimination, this stigma and overall negative outlook on the community. But even after all these years of evolution of the mankind, it's still so apparent how it still happens. And I want to help raise awareness to that. And speaking of coming out and the fear of coming out, how did you overcome that fear?
Well, for me, compared to other people like me, I'm actually a really lucky person as my parents were really open about these kind of stuff. Yes, it was unimaginable before that I'd come out as gay to them. But in the recent years, they've become more open with the LGBTQ plus things. Yes, before when you talk about gay people in front of my parents, they'd say a lot of negative things. And when I did something feminine, they would ask, "Are you gay?" And take note that before, being gay was something people looked down upon.
Exactly. I admit I wasn't very much open minded before when I was younger. I came from a Catholic school, and you know how that goes. They weren't that open to gay people and such, so the stigma was growing on me. But fortunately, I moved to a public school when I turned 14. It was in 7th grade. So it basically high school. So the growing stigma on me changed because I was put into a more diverse group. I learned that a lot of people struggle just for being gay or bisexual or queer or lesbian.
Mm-mm.
And I kind of learned to sympathize with that.
Yes, we were taught that being gay was wrong. So,
That is so
so
true.
I would reply with, "No, I'm not gay," and just agree with whatever they would say.
I'm really sorry that you had to experience something like that and had to be at the stage of had feeling the need to hide it.
Mm-mm. Well, that was a long time ago, though. Probably back when I was also in grade seven, seventh grade. But I knew I was
Mhm.
great. I was at fifth grade already. As for school, most people didn't mind about my sexuality and how I act, but some of them do. This was a really sad moment in my life. Not really to the point traumatizing, but still sad for me. They were my peers. Of course, I would want to be involved with them, make friends with them.
Mhm.
I did have a lot of friends that time, but those who didn't really vibe with me, um, they would use my sexuality against nonsense things. When, for example, like when having an argument with some of them, when they're cornered or they don't have anything to rebut, they would say sort of like, "Oh lol, bakla," or "Tanga na tong bading." And being young, that really did put me, uh, give me a lot of stress. And as I have mentioned before, that in the Philippines, being gay is something that people think badly of. It is used to mock or a derogatory term against people. And being young, being called like that in front of my friends, yeah, I was really embarrassed that time to the point of tears. And that time, I know
I'm
that
sorry.
I couldn't win against those kinds of attacks during arguments. So I just walk away and go back to my parents. Yes, they did comfort me back then, but they weren't the type to stand up for me. Given the situation before wherein gays were looked down upon. But today, though, my friends from before, together with other new friends, are much more open with these kinds of things. And they will stand up for me now. Sometimes really more than necessary. I am thankful though for them.
How did you come out to them? Or
Um,
did they just think that you were gay immediately?
Not really. I think I hope not. I first came out to my friends 2 years ago. Back in when I was in 11th grade, I told them to eat outside and they agreed. I had this kind of imaginary script in my head about what would I say to them and how do I tell them that I'm gay. Yes. So when the time came, we went inside the fast food restaurant and ate. I was really pressured to come out to them. I don't know that they were really open people and I wouldn't be judged badly if I came out, but there really is something that's adding pressure to me. And because of that, I forgot my imaginary script and just said straight to the point, guys, I'm gay. And just smiled casually. They replied with, so? Yes, with that, with
That's
that,
that's great. That's really
yes,
great.
with
I'm
that
happy
reply,
for
I was
you.
really happy that I could finally say it to someone, and was also really happy that they didn't mind it. I was happy to the point of tears, but I was really almost going to cry that time, but we just laughed it off. After that, hmm,
Did you feel like a lot of weight was pulled off
yes,
your
very, very
shoulders?
a lot of yes, yes, a lot of it,
That's
a lot of
great.
it was been
I
lifted off.
hope a lot of people are like your friends, open and accepting.
Yes, I am a very lucky person. After that, it was easy to tell my other friends about my sexuality, and they were all cool with it. Yeah, I tell my other friends that I'm on that, so they know. Then I came out next to my sister, which is who is 3 years older than me. When I said that I'm gay, she just said okay, and then hugged me. That was a good moment, but yeah, after that, she would tease me when there are cute guys around. She would say, Nicos, pogi oh. Things like that.
But you do find them handsome, right?
Yes, of course I do. I do. Actually, yeah.
Nice.
My parents were the last people I came out to. Knowing that they are much more open to things such as LGBTQ plus really helped me get the courage to come out to them. They also both work abroad, meaning that I came out to them during a video call. And that really helped lessen the pressure.
Yeah.
When I told them, my father told me it was fine and that he was okay with whatever makes me happy as long as I don't hurt people. He also made a joke about the family name coming to an end since I am their male. I'm the only male out of three siblings. My mother
Oh.
was a bit against it, asking me stuff like if there was a chance that I'd be straight instead. Though I don't know that my mother is really okay with it. She's just kind of teasing me in a way.
Did you did you feel insulted when
No,
she asked you that?
no, no. She didn't ask in an insulting manner, but in a playful way. So I do know
Okay.
that she's fine with it. She's just
Hopefully she's more open now.
yeah, she is. She is. She's been asking about my relationship status.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and
It's really great that you have supportive
yes,
parents.
I am very lucky. I am very lucky person. And all that is my coming out story.
It's great that your parents were willing to learn and accept you and the idea and of LGBT plus community. especially now as compared to the past. I've heard that I've heard that Spain legalized same-sex marriage in 2005. And as we know, the Philippines was colonized by Spain in the past 333 years. If I'm correct, they were the most influential colonizers in terms of religion in the Philippines. And yet, the Philippines is yet to legalize same-sex marriage. I know a lot of people who are trying to fight and protest for this to be legalized. As someone who has attended the Pride March since I think 2018 or 2019, I've seen the tears and heard the painful screams of the LGBTQ plus community during that time. I'm just happy to be able to partake in that movement and help give voice to the community or, amplify the
Mhm.
voice. Have you been in the Pride March?
I
Have you
actually
attended?
wanted to go that time, but as you know, the pandemic started and my parents
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
allow me to go. I went.
I don't Yeah, it's so difficult to have Pride March nowadays,
Yeah,
especially during the pandemic,
yes, because it's
because
hard.
the last time I attended there was like 30 to 60,000 people. I'm not
Oh,
sure, but it was a lot of people that they had to close down a lot of roads just so they could fit that much people. And I'm so happy that as the years go by, the people participating in the Pride March is growing, and hopefully they're all in it for a good cause.
yes.
What would you say to yourself 10 years ago? Like to you're 18 now, right?
Mm-mm.
What would you say to your 8-year-old self? Would
Eight
you
say,
have changed anything?
mm,
Yeah, would you have changed
not
anything?
really. I think everything that I've experienced, everything that I yes experienced since childhood, since I was 8 years old up to now, was something that I could be proud of, something that I could use someday, and I won't really change a thing as I'm actually happy and contented with what I have now, with my friends, with my family, with my sexuality. I am okay with it. I am fine. I I do not want to change anything. And if I had to say something to myself 10 years ago, which I was 8 years old, I just say do whatever makes me happy, and I'll tell him I'll tell myself that I shouldn't really mind what others would say to me, and I should just do whatever makes me happy.
Oh, that's a really nice answer. So, how did you help your parents accept you or the general idea of LGBTQ plus community?
For my parents, as I've mentioned before, my parents weren't really open with LGBTQ stuff before, when back like 5 years ago or more than. But
How did they adapt?
they adapt really. I think the major factor that really impacted their opinions about the LGBTQ community is their exposure to LGBTQ people, such as Vice Ganda in the television, or
Yeah.
other gay people that they know. I think also the social media. I do think that I don't think that that really helped us. There's more shows that showcases LGBTQ people. There are multiple. There are a lot of people who have come out, and my parents, my parents also do have LGBTQ friends, and I really think that I really think that me as myself, I also showed little bit of hints that I am, yes, I am gay to them, so they wouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
as, you know, they would be as shocked, or they have no choice but to accept it,
Yes.
something like that. Yes,
I'm really glad that you have very supportive friends and supportive family because not a lot of people are lucky enough to
yes,
have
that
that
is
kind
to
of
me.
safe space. The Philippines is known to be one of the most online countries of the world. Speaking of this, do you think social media has impacted the views of the Filipinos on LGBTQ plus?
Yes, as I mentioned a while ago, I really think that social media is had a lot of impact on Filipinos' views on the LGBTQ people from just simply Twitter. There are a lot of very intellectual people who have a lot of opinions. There are also Facebook where we share posts about stuff like this. There's also YouTube where we can watch uh, shows about LGBTQ people. Social media, I really think that it helps, but on how it impacts,
I
uh,
think it helps
yes,
normalize.
yes,
It
that's
helps
I was thinking
normalize.
about that word. Yes, normalize, because as we've mentioned in the as we've mentioned before, it's the lack of education about LGBTQ people that promotes homophobia amongst straights, amongst other, not only straights, but amongst everyone, including LGBTQ people themselves. And with that much exposure, I think it really helps normalize or expose themselves to LGBTQ people and be more open minded.
Do you like how gay people are portrayed in like movies or TV
About
shows?
that, I well,
Or do you think it's very stereotypical
I do think it is very stereotypical, but
because not all gay people
yes,
act that
yes,
way?
not all gay people act that way. There's also an issue where the comedian Vice Ganda was actually nominated to be the the face of the LGBTQ plus community. Some were saying that it was fine since she was very a very charming,
Openly gay
yes, an
person.
openly gay person as well, and also a very influential person. But some others like me, um, really I do not want things like that, since things to be like that. I don't want an LGBT to have face, since it is a very big community.
Yeah,
And when you say LGBTQ plus, they tend to just think of gays.
think of gay,
Yes,
yeah.
they
But it's a very diverse
yes, it's a very
community.
big community. And also about gays, the stereotype that the gays are clowns, they're funny people, they are someone who talks a lot, who gives off a lot of happy energy, is kind of uh putting a bit of pressure to me, and I don't know to other people like me, but I don't want to be, when I
A
say
clown.
yes, I don't want, yeah, I do, yes, I do not want to be a clown. I do make them, I do make jokes, I do make them happy, but the expectation that if you are gay, you're a clown, that's really bad, I think.
It's a burdensome role.
Yes,
It's a burden.
yes. That's why I'm really actually happy that some LGBTQ movies, or in this case gay movies, portray gay people as not only clowns but someone who is a person.
A real person
Yes,
and not just a role.
yes, not just,
That's great.
yes, that's
I'm really happy to hear your opinion about this.
mm,
Before we end this episode, what would your advice be to the people who are closeted?
people who are closeted.
Yeah,
I can't really say that you should open up, since I know that you have your own circumstances, and uh, you have your own reason why you wouldn't want to open up to people. But I'd I'd say that it's a really good experience to open up, to people who are open. Okay, so
People who are
yes,
accepting.
people who are accepting. So if you do not want to open up, that's fine. You can live closeted. There's no fault in that. Um, I really can't think of a good advice. It's just that for me, it really helped me when I opened to my friends. That was the first phase of my coming out of story, and why and how I also got the courage to open up to my parents. Uh, my friends really helped that. So I think you can find friends who are open about this kind of stuff, even if it's just internet friends. It's a good experience.
Thank you for that lovely advice.
Mm.
And thank you for being my guest for this episode and sharing your experience. Would you like to say something else?
Yes, actually, uh, I'd like to shout out my friends who are planning to
Okay.
watch this because I've mentioned to them that I'd be guesting in a podcast and they told me to say their name. So, hello kay Charmaine, Brianna, Odulio. Kay Sheka, kung nanonood ka man kay Adul, kay Kurt. Hello sa inyo yan. Sa TV na ako.
That's so cute. Very unfortunate because my podcast is still small, but I am learning to grow. But I'm not aiming to be popular. I'm just aiming to help at least one single person on Earth. Especially with how the pandemic has seriously affected our mental health.
Yes.
And I'm thank you so much for being here. And I hope maybe someday in the future you'll be able to guest again,
Yeah,
if
sure.
that's okay.
That's fine. That's fine. Just,
Yeah,
contact me.
because yeah, of course, because it's really fun having different guests for each of my episode, and I want to compile it one day.
Yes.
Because yeah, we all have different perspectives, and I'd love to hear each and every views of other people on a certain topic. Anyways, let's end it here. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you in my next episode. Bye.
Bye.